If you're a Liverpool fan, you may or may not want to stick around because we're about to throw some salt in your wounds. Let's talk about Liverpool's rough patch that we've seen. It's their first time losing 3 consecutive games in all competitions since 2023. They're the first Premier League defending champions to lose multiple games in the 90th minute in a 7-day span. And then, of course, their 2 most expensive signings in history, Wirtz and Alexander Isak, not quite having that big instant impact that we were hoping for. All right, let's get straight into what on earth is going wrong with Liverpool and Arne Slot right now. We've also got our Frank Leboeuf joining us, as well as Beth Lindop, because there's a lot to talk about, guys. And I'm going to start with you, Beth, because you're closest there to the action. And like I said, we're all scratching our heads after great recruitment from Liverpool. It was all starting so well for Arne Slot. How and why has it fallen off?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, and I think one that Arne Slot himself will be looking to solve over this international break. I think ultimately it's multiple factors, really. I mean, you mentioned the recruitment there. And on paper, Liverpool signed a lot of great players, obviously spent a lot of money, but they are a team now in transition. And you know, people might take issue with that and say, well, you shouldn't be in transition if you've spent all of this money. But ultimately, they've had to replace sort of 4 or 5 starters with 4 or 5 new players. And regardless of how good those players are, it does still take time to adapt and for players to find their feet. So I think that's one part of it. I think another part is that the existing players, the likes of Mo Salah, the likes of Ibrahim Konate, players who've been stalwarts of this team for several years now, are performing way below their usual level. And I think, you know, that the undercurrent to all of this is that it's been a very, very difficult summer for the club. And, you know, Virgil van Dijk came out after the game on Saturday and said, you know, we always knew this was going to be a difficult season. And he got a little bit of criticism from some quarters of the Liverpool fan base, actually saying, you know, maybe that's an excuse and it was not something that they talked about when they were winning games. But I think ultimately this season will be tough for these players because obviously of the loss of Diogo Jota in the summer. And I think that when we're sort of assessing what's gone wrong for Liverpool, I think that always has to be at the back of everyone's minds, like it or not. That is going to affect these players in this team. But there is obviously more of a tactical issue and more of a personnel issue, and those are the things that the Arne Slot will be looking to solve in time for that Manchester United game after the international break.
99% of players, when things are not going well for them, we understand that at the very least we work hard. But he seems to be walking around in a daze. I mean, those breaks that Craig was talking about with Cucurella, he's not even thinking about Cucurella. And why is that? It cannot be that he doesn't get it, he doesn't understand it. And there's certainly no way that Arne Slot is not telling him that, you know, you're going to have to keep an eye on Cucurella because he wants to get forward. So right now, I'm going to be kind to Mo Salah and say that we can call it lack of confidence, we can call it what we want, but right now, his head is scrambled because he's not seen the picture. He's not seen the clear picture.
Well, you be kind to him, I'm not, because he is seeing the picture of the full-back running forward. And Maresca and Chelsea must have looked at the other Liverpool games and went, he's going to cheat, he's not bothered about running back. So when we win it, I want you, Cucurella, to get on your front foot and drive forward, because we'll have a 2-on-1 down that side. I don't care who he is. I don't care what his stats say. I don't care how much he's getting paid. I don't care if he's the talisman of Liverpool over however many years. I don't care. Liverpool, performance-wise, not in terms of points, but performance-wise, have been struggling since the Community Shield, if we're being honest. Into the Bournemouth game, into all the other league games. These defeats have been coming. And you cannot have people in your side, particularly when the balance of your side is struggling, as the midfield is, particularly when you've got 2 new fullbacks and your back 4 struggling. You can't have people just letting players run off them. You can't have it. That's down to work rate and desire. Now, if his form going forward continues in the manner in which it has been, and his lack of defensive duties continue in the manner that we saw at Chelsea at the weekend, he's going to have to be dropped. It'll have to be. They'll have to find somebody that hasn't got the skill set of Mo Salah, but is at least going to put a shift in and come back and help the fullback. That's kind of where he is.
You know, the other worry would be nobody on the field is holding him accountable.
Yep.
If I'm
Mo
playing,
Salah.
I think Szoboszlai had
Tough conversation to have.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not a tough conversation. Him and I, you don't care who it is, Stevie.
no, it doesn't matter who it is. If there's any sign that they're not doing it, or it looks as though that the effort's not there, there should be 2 and 3 players on his back telling him to get back in. But there's clearly not. You know, if I'm playing in the centre of midfield, or if I'm playing full-back, and the guy in front of me isn't balling to run back, the first thing I'm doing, the first chance I get, I'm getting my finger right in his face, and I'm telling him exactly what he needs to do. That is another concern, that on the field, with so many so-called experienced and world-class players, nobody's holding anybody accountable.
I don't know if anybody else did. I think Szoboszlai did have at least 1 or 2 pops at him in the first half in that match at the weekend at London. He's clearly captain of his country, experienced player, blah, blah, blah. Frank, what do you think about this work rate from Mo Salah, just looking at that clip?
Well, 2 points. The thing is, I'm wondering if last year, when Liverpool were most dominant and were having the ball most of the time, if Mo Salah had to run back to get to follow the player and the opponent, the fullback. I'm not sure that he always did that in his career. We have to check if on his prime, where he was absolutely fantastic last season, if he had to run back, and maybe if he could save that because people were saving him. Now, because they're less dominant, we see clearly that if he doesn't run back, he's putting his teammate in a big mess. But I'm pretty sure last season he didn't do that. I'm pretty sure the season before he didn't do that as well. And another thing, he, if I'm not mistaken, he signed a new contract. And we said last season, what's going to be the Salah next season when we talked about it? Will it be nice for Liverpool? Will it be a good idea for Liverpool to sign a new contract to Mo Salah? Everybody was saying that it's impossible to not sign him because he's such a fantastic player. But because of his age, is he capable of running back? Because of his age, because he want to save things to score goals. Do you remember that when Wirtz came in and gave him the assist in the beginning of second half, how he missed that pass, that goal? Sorry, and that was clear for me that he was already tired because Mo Salah last year would have scored that goal. So I don't know, I have question marks more than saying that he's guilty for not running back. I'm not sure. Maybe you have better answers, guys.
This isn't a sort of pile on in Liverpool. This is we all did the Community Shield, and we were going, right, there's going to be some teething issues and blah blah blah. You know, new players. Arsenal brought new players in. Most teams do bring new players in, but it's not just the new players. It's the sort of changing dynamic of the team, trying to go to Florian Wirtz, who didn't start this game as a number 10. But it isn't a Liverpool pile-on. It's a kind of look at the issues that Arne Slot has got coming up after the international break. The selection problems, the problems with the personnel and the team, the problem with playing Szoboszlai at right back again for part of this game and for the bulk of the game in Galatasaray. All these sort of issues. Steve and I were talking, does Kerkez remain in the team, or do you take him out and put Robertson in and just give the lad a breather? 'Cause
you have to question, are they being told to stay in a certain position? Are they being told that, forget that, the first man closes the ball and then everybody else files in behind? I mean, you have to question, what is Arne Slot telling them? Because, again, we're not just talking about Chelsea. We're talking about, since the start of the season, there have been holes. Yeah. So you have to question what Arne Slot's telling them.
It's a great squad, isn't it? It is a great squad, and they can be a terrific team, as they showed at times last year. It kind of fell away towards the end. It certainly fell away in Europe. They have lots to look forward to. But I'm just going to be super interested how he's going to solve all these issues. The work rate and the form of your star player. The midfield, is it Wirtz in or Wirtz out? I don't think you can play him on the left. Is it you're dropping Ekitike effectively. Well, he got suspended for the Palace game. But you're bringing in Alexander Isak. He's the star signing. But Ekitike's arguably been your best player. And that's before you get to the back four. So Liverpool at the moment are just too easy to play against.
Well, Beth, let me bring you back in, but specifically on the Mo Salah discussion that the boys are having here right now. And of course, you guys have done a deep dive into his stats on ESPN.com, and there is quite a remarkable drop-off. And people can say maybe that could be down to the fact that, look, he's 33 years old, these things happen. But what about the work rate? And if what the boys have been saying about Salah is being echoed in Liverpool, in the media, in the public, in the fans?
Yeah, well, I think it was a really important point that Frank made, because actually I don't think the work rate is a new thing. I think, Mo Salah he's always been someone who's been accused at times of maybe not tracking back as much, but because the numbers and his output going forward has been so strong, it's almost like a fair trade-off. And there was actually a conversation last season between Salah and Arne Slot when Slot first came into the club, and Slot basically said to him, I'm going to give you a little bit more license, but I need for you to deliver. And he did. He scores 34 goals in all competitions last season. He has one of his best seasons in a Liverpool shirt. So actually, him not tracking back, him conserving that energy to be able to go forward and attack and deliver worked out for Liverpool. This season, it's not a trade-off that is working for them, because he's not contributing defensively, but his output going forward is nowhere near what it was last season. And the numbers in terms of, I think it's 11 shots he's had across the 7 games this season, which is half the amount of shots he had at the same point last season. So he's not getting into the right positions as he was last season. When he is getting into those positions, he's being wasteful. So he does very much look like a player who is having a bit of a crisis of confidence. And again, just to bring it back to the difficult summer part, and that obviously doesn't absolve Salah of all responsibility, because he's a top professional and he will want to be delivering better than he is. But it's only a few weeks ago that he was stood on the pitch at Anfield crying in front of the fans, and I do think that when you look at the squad as a whole and the players that have been affected by the summer, I think Salah is probably right up there for players who is struggling with it. He bit back at some supporters on social media a few weeks ago because they were criticising Darwin Núñez and Luis Diaz. That's not what Mo Salah usually does. So I think there is maybe a bit of a wider issue there in terms of his confidence, which isn't helping with his form. But I also don't think as well, going back to what the guys were saying about the space in midfield, I think last season, Dominic Szoboszlai, Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister started 28 games together last season as a midfield 3. And I think that was integral to everything that Liverpool did going forward, and defensively too. They had a real good balance. And I think this season, McAllister looks way off the pace. He missed a lot of pre-season with an injury. Dominic Szoboszlai has been going to right back. So that midfield 3 has only actually started together twice this season. And I don't think that's helping the players in front of them. And I don't think it's helping the players behind them. So I think at the minute, getting that midfield balance right is probably one of the most important things that Arne Slot needs to get sorted out.
I mean, trade-offs are good, as Beth said. Yep. Trade-offs are good terminology. Aye. The trade-off only works when you're, as Beth said, when you're playing well and you're delivering and your team are not struggling. Yep. And as I said, Liverpool are not struggling for points because they've racked up a fair amount of points. But I don't think anybody would deny they've been struggling for performance by their standards. And also the other side of it is how easy they've been to play against. Almost every team they've played could have bagged 3 or 4 against them. Racking my brains to think about all the games this early in the season. And it's very similar in terms of, you're talking about a trade-off. It was very similar with Trent Alexander-Arnold. The trade-off was, he's going to switch off defensively, he's going to go to sleep, he's not going to tuck in maybe at the right time and help out at the back post, but my God, he's going to give you the range of passing and the free kicks, the set pieces, the goals from that right back position. That was the trade-off. And it's very similar for Mo Salah. But this is I think when Mo Salah looks at himself, he's going to say, okay, what do we need? What does this team, what does this manager need at the moment? He needs to not have a passenger, any passengers. And so whether this is, and I agree, he's always been a little bit on the cheaty side coming back, but Liverpool have been pretty successful. As soon as you're under pressure, and as soon as your manager's tinkering and you've got these new players, you have to change. It doesn't matter if you're 33 or 29, you have to change. And that change is work rate.
And all these trade-offs only work when, depending on which part of the field it is, somebody is covering for the trade-off. And right now, Kanate in particular, who was covering for Alexander-Arnold and did a fantastic job, right now can't tie his shoelaces together properly. I mean, he can't. He's not defending well. He's not passing the ball well. You know, the guy is struggling big time. And then if you take a step forward into the middle of the park, Ryan Gravenberg, who was the guy again who would cover the space that Mo Salah wasn't getting back into, he's struggling as well. McAllister hasn't been fit all season. So everywhere you look, they're struggling. And I think, again, it's easy to look at the new players and say what they're not doing. But at the end of the day, the only way the new players are going to fit in properly and get in tune with everybody is when your core guys are running the show. Your core guys, your Van Dijks and Konatés at the back, your McAllister and your Gravenberg in the middle that allows Szoboszlai to get forward. These guys I mentioned are the platform for Mo Salah to go and score all these goals, or for Isak to get opportunities, or Ekitike. But right now, the core guys are absolutely miles off what they should be doing and what they've done previously. And so all your stars up the top of the field are going to struggle regardless of what their own form is anyway.
Well, the good news for Liverpool is that they do have to play Manchester United next, and if there were ever a game that you need a big result from, it may be that one. Frank, we actually are coming to you on Chelsea, but did you want final word on Liverpool?
No, yeah, maybe. I think it's quite miraculous if we listen to each other and see what Liverpool has done so far. It's quite miraculous to be second with 15 points and have won some games, because we are criticizing a team with second in the league, have been champion last season, and we can say, but can we say it that the champion can be in transition? Some players are struggling, the former players, Van Dijk, Konaté, Mo Salah, McAllister. Some others are coming to settle down, and they're still second with 15 points. So, yeah, it's not going that bad for Liverpool, and I would say that it's going quite good. I want to be positive. I want to see the half-ball tail filled up, because it's quite good. 15 points with that amount of criticism and those things not working, players not being good like the past, some others coming in not settled down. That's pretty awesome for on the slot. Well done, my man. No, but of course we want to see better, because we expect much better.
Well, I think, Frank, you're absolutely right. But I think there is a big picture here, and there's a long game. It's a bit like Barcelona in a sense, who got absolutely walloped by Sevilla at the weekend, who also sit second in the league and lost 4 goals, could have lost 7 or 8. And I kind of liken that to Liverpool in the sense that it's been coming. The Barcelona shellacking has been coming. Because defensively, they've been all over the place. They haven't got as many problems as Liverpool in terms of the midfield and the front line, but they've certainly got some defensive issues. And I think the point is with Liverpool is we're expecting them to be in a toe-to-toe fight with Arsenal and maybe City. But I think the bigger picture here is not to pick apart their games and the fact that they've got 15 points or whatever it is, but it's to say if they continue to play in that manner, it is very unlikely that they'll be even in a title race come the end of the season, unless the others fall off a cliff too. Because you can't keep performing and leaving the space that we've talked about, having the work rate and the lack of form and the lack of cohesion and all these difficulties and do a play flurry inverts or whatever it is. These problems have got no shelf life over the space of another, 30 games or so? So it has to figure that out. Otherwise, they will not be unlikely, that is, to be in the title race come the late stages of the season. That's kind of where we're hedging our bets.